Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. It's Friday, January 27th, and this is Fiona Lukeis coming to you live for my Friday live Q&A session. I have had quite a few questions come in to me this week, so I'll do my best to get through what I can. But I just want to say a very warm welcome to you if this is your first live or if you're just joining in. I'm just going to give a few minutes for the live feed to kind of process so that people can see that I'm live here. It's a beautiful day here in Melbourne, about 25 degrees, which is lovely. Hopefully I will get onto my paddleboard when I finish work this afternoon. Hopefully the wind won't be too strong. Very much looking forward to doing that. It's paddleboarding season here, which I know probably doesn't sound like, for those of you who are in the middle of ice and snow, probably seems quite bizarre. I find it quite bizarre when I'm dealing with clients on the other side of the world who are in the middle of a snowstorm and I'm about to hit the beach. So this is just the amazing thing about being in completely opposite ends or sides of the world. We have completely different weather experiences at the same time. Hey, Brian, thanks for saying hi. It is a cracking day again. Australia Day was very good, thank you. I actually did quite a bit of work that I needed to catch up on. So I wasn't at a lot of Aussie barbecues, which we tend to have on Australia Day. That's if you see Australia Day in a positive light. Some people see it as Invasion Day and see it in a completely different way. So Australia Day can have a very mixed response for people depending on how you see things. Hi, Jane. Thanks for saying hi. Where are you saying hi from? I'd love to know. I'd be really curious. And anybody else out there who's just joining the live now, if you want to say hi, if you want to let me know where you're listening from. Like I said, I'm always curious to know where people are in the world. I was just saying it's a beautiful day here today, and hopefully the weather conditions will be such that I can get onto my paddleboard later on today, because it's paddleboarding season here. Hi, Wendy. Thanks for saying hi. You're in Hamilton, New Zealand. Okay, I was just speaking to someone in New Zealand. Hi, Sean. You're in the Adelaide Hills. Oh, gorgeous part of the world, the Adelaide Hills. Really, really, and great winemaking country. Hello, Peggy from Minnesota. Welcome. Thanks for saying hi. And you're in Tassie. It's blowing a gale here today. Okay. Tassie is short for Tasmania. For those of you, this is such an Australian thing we do. We shorten everything. Breakfast is brekkie. Afternoon is arvo. Tasmania is Tassie. We just do that with everything. It's hilarious how it's just part of our culture. So if you're wondering what Jane means by Tassie, that's short for Tasmania. And you're in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Okay, hi, Darlene. Thanks for saying hi. I have a son who is doing a ski season at Whistler at the moment and is having an amazing time. He's working at, oh God, it'll come to me, one of those big hotels there. Anyway, so he's learning how to snowboard and all those kind of things, having a great time. Yes, I know you've just joined Relatable Shiny, and I'm so excited. I'm thrilled that you're there. I remember your enrollment coming through, and I hope that you're enjoying it, honey. So a big welcome to you to Relatable. It's our Relatable family. It's such a wonderful, wonderful program and such a wonderful community. We camped at Peg's Beach in November and nearly got blown to Hobart. Yes. Tasmania. Tasmania is a beautiful place. Beautiful. Actually, I was actually in Hobart running a business kind of relationship program for a group of business leaders in October. I loved Hobart. I had a great time. Loved it. So beautiful, beautiful part of the world. So look, I wasn't able to be with you live last week. I was actually away with my family having some time out, and I was on my paddleboard. So I'm nice and refreshed for you guys today. And so this really is your opportunity to ask me any questions that you have. Some of you are here because you bought my ebook or you've heard my podcast, which I'm very overdue to produce an episode on. I know that it's coming. I've just been so flat out with my client work and my Relatable students. I haven't had time, but I know that there is another episode coming. I've got a few of them banked up, so that they will be coming soon. And if you have a question around relationships, anything you're stuck on, this is your chance to ask me, okay? And you'd be amazed at how helpful your questions are for other people. So if you're just joining live, or you have a question you want to ask, don't be shy. Let me know what it is that I can be of service or help you with. If you do have a question that you want to ask and you can't join me live, you can always send me an email in advance, hello@fionalukeis.com.au, and I will answer it for you. I do really need to have the questions in, though, by first thing Friday morning for me to have a chance to actually address them on the call for you. But, sorry, on the Facebook Live. Now, let me see. My assistant has put the questions in a document for me this morning. Sorry, guys. It's been because yesterday was a public holiday. It's been a really crazy morning. Okay, here we are. I'm just looking the questions up now. And if you have a question or you want to say hi, pop it into the chat. Okay, all right, let me just start here. Okay, my husband of 42 years is an extremely jealous person. At the beginning of our relationship, it was of other men, even though there was no cause for jealousy. Fast forward 40 years, now it is anyone that I spend time with, my sister, my girlfriends. I can't take him anywhere when they are around for fear he'll be rude to them. I've told him my concerns at least 20 times in the past few years. Is there anything that I can do, or is this just something that he needs to work on with counselling? Look, that's an interesting question, Darlene. And I guess one of the things that you start to realize in relationships and in life, okay, and this is very, very, very important, is that people live in separate realities. We really do. No two people see the world the same way. No one, ever. We live in completely separate realities, which means our experience of things is not the same. And I think a big mistake people make in relationships is they assume that people can see things the way they can. So I'm not saying your husband's behavior is okay, and I'm certainly not saying that that's got something to do with you, Darlene. But what I am saying is maybe he doesn't realize, right? Maybe, and I know you might be sitting there thinking, how is this possible? I've told him 100 times. But sometimes it's what we speak to and what we're listening for that makes all the difference, okay? And many of us are so busy-minded, our minds are going so fast that we're not actually present in conversations. The amount of people I work with who do not have a point of reference for what it is to actually be present is huge, okay? And this is a massive issue in relationships. So I don't know how present you are to him, and I don't know how present he is to you. But what I would do is I would get very, very, very curious. Okay, curiosity is one of those underrated things that people don't understand, don't appreciate enough, and don't utilize enough. The power of curiosity, I cannot emphasize enough. So what that means is I'd sort of be saying, are you aware of how jealous you are around things in my life? Are you aware of this? Are you aware? Do you feel that you have can you see that this is something that is an issue for you? Can you even see that? Because he may not even see that. You know, you've got to understand when something is normalized, it becomes invisible to us. All right. And we are absolutely our own biggest blind spot. We are our own biggest blind spot. You are your own biggest blind spot. I am my own biggest blind spot. And so, you know, your idea of what jealousy is and your husband's might be completely different. He might, in his mind, be thinking, no, I'm just making sure that you're okay. Now, and so you've got to explore that. You've got to get curious and go, are you aware of how you're coming across? This is how it is. And if he's not interested in that, then you want to get curious about that as well. How come when I say this to you, that isn't really interesting to you? How come that's not something that that I feel that you don't take a lot of notice around? Like, I would just get curious and explore that. He might get a bit defensive, he might get a bit whatever, but just hold space for it, come back to it again. I'd really love to know. I'm feeling like every time I spend time with people that you get really insecure, or it worries you, or it upsets you. What is that all about? What's going on with that? And just try and get as curious as you can around that. Ultimately, though, yes, if this is something that is important to you and it's something that he is not listening for, then it's got to be something that you want to go, how come that my concern about that isn't interesting to you? How come it doesn't change anything? Are you hearing what I'm saying? And then it's about saying, are you prepared to do something about that? Okay, because ultimately we are responsible for ourselves, right? How we show up, how we do things. But first of all, you just want to get curious. I would get very, very curious. Does he understand what I mean? Is he understanding how I'm feeling? Does he even realize how he is showing up? Because we can never assume that people actually understand how they're showing up. A lot of people, like I said, we are our own biggest blind spot. Okay, so that's where I would start with that, and that's where I would kind of go with from there. All right. Now, next question. Hi, Fiona. I listen to your Facebook Live regularly and I'm learning a lot by your approach. I have a question regarding friendships. I have a few good and loyal friends, but have always struggled to make new friendships. It's always me that makes the approach to meet up for a coffee, a walk, etc., but it's really rarely reciprocated. Each time I'm told it's been enjoyable, I know I'm approachable and good company. The friends I do have are confident, intelligent, and popular with wide friendship groups. It seems everyone I know has enough friends and they're not looking for more. But it's not the case for me, and I'm left feeling lonely and a bit invisible. I hope you can provide me with some insight. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, honey. And it's amazing how many people feel that way. What I have seen is that and I think this is incredibly brave, but there are people that post in their local Facebook groups and say, hey, I'm 35, I'm 45, I'm 55, I'm whatever. And I'm just finding I haven't made as many friends as I thought I would. Is there anyone out there who'd like to meet up for a coffee or who's interested and open in making new friends? You'd be amazed. I see a lot of these posts, and I also see a lot of people saying, oh, wow, thank you for posting this. I feel the same way. I'd love to meet up for a coffee. So, you might just find that, yeah, maybe with some of the places you're looking in, Val, that that might well be the case. Again, it's a bit like what I just a bit of the advice I just gave to the other lady who wrote in, is get really curious. Ask your friends, hey, I'd love to catch up more. Is that something you've got time for, or where are you at? You might just find with some of the people you're with that might well be the case, right? That they've got enough friends and they're not looking for more. But that doesn't mean that there aren't people who are looking for more friends, because I can assure you there are. Joining things like walking groups is a great way to make friends. I know my mum, for example, has a group of people called the Sea Wolves, and they meet up and swim every single morning. They meet up for a swim, and a lot of them have a coffee afterwards at the local beach here. They get out and they swim every day of the year, or most days of the year, and the circle of women that have joined that has grown and grown and grown and grown, and it's a very open kind of thing. So you might just find that you need to extend your net, so to speak. But even if you were prepared to do that in your local area, to put a post on Facebook where say hi, I just find myself at a stage in my life where I'd love to meet new friends, and is there anyone out there who's looking to make new friends? You'd be amazed at how many people will respond and how common what you're feeling and experiencing is. It's incredibly common. And, we almost really need a dating site except for friends, don't we? You know what I mean? Where you can join in and see where there are things happening around you, so that you can meet new people. But I would widen your net, and don't take it personally. It's got nothing to do with you. This is very, very important. Us humans have a very bad habit of taking things personally that don't belong to us, right? And then that just adds to our suffering. It's very, very helpful when you don't take things personally, when you can just see things from a different perspective. This is why understanding the way things work, the way human beings work, is so freeing, because through the lens of an understanding, we tend to take everything and life and everything, situations, people, far, far less personally, or not personally at all. And that's where emotional freedom lies, in my opinion. So anyway, I hope that helps with that question. All right, next question. My partner and I have been together 11 years and have 2 kids together. We have completely separate finances. We pay half of everything, even though I only work 15 hours because I'm home with the kids. He owns the house we live in. Recently, I offered to put some money into his house so it could become our house, and the answer was no, he wants to keep it separate. I'm really struggling to accept this. I have terrible anxiety about it. To me, it says we are separate, and then he doesn't want to fully commit. Any advice, please? Okay, honey. You absolutely have to get curious with him, right? If you have been together for 11 years and you've got 2 kids together, there are things here that do not make sense, right? If you're only working 15 hours because you're home with the children, then you paying half of everything doesn't make sense, because it means that the work that you're doing with your children, which is work, meaning if you were working full time, you would have to pay someone to do that role. That needs to be acknowledged. Okay? That absolutely needs to be acknowledged, and it needs to be allocated a sum of money. Okay? It needs to be allocated a sum of money. So whatever that would be worth, the time that you're spending with the kids needs to be allocated a sum of money. And whatever you're not being paid for that needs to then be taken into account with how you split bills, meaning your partner should be paying more because you're not being paid for those things. This is very unequitable. Okay, this is very unequitable. There is no uh, security for you here. And so I completely understand why you're feeling anxious about it. You've got to get really curious. How come he he wants to keep this separate? Now, in saying this, if you're living together, whether he's just paying for the house or not, you will be entitled. If something was to happen, you would absolutely be entitled to a share of that property. Okay, so and look, I'm not going to get into the legal aspect of things. That's not my roadshow, but even if you're not contributing anything, the fact that you're at home looking after the children, etc., would mean that you are entitled to something. But there is something definitely something not quite right about that. And again, it's so interesting to me, when you look at being in partnership with someone. A big part of being in partnership with someone is being interested in your partner's concern. Okay, it's being interested in your partner's concern. So if you're someone out there and you have a partner who has a concern about something and you're brushing it off and you're not listening, you're doing terrible, terrible things for goodwill. Terrible things. That person is not going to feel safe emotionally. You're actually really saying, I only represent me. I don't represent the we. In order to create a healthy we, there has to be a lot of goodwill. And part of creating goodwill is being interested in whatever it is that your partner's concerned about. If you're not listening and brushing it off, you are doing terrible, terrible damage to goodwill. But what I would be doing is I would be getting really curious with him, because there's things here that don't add up and don't make sense. Now, if you don't get a great response to that, then I guess you've got to sit within yourself, right? What is it that you want for you? How do you want to feel? What is it that you want for you? Because you still have choice and power around that. Okay. This is very, very, very important, because this is absolutely, definitely unequitable and uneven and does need to change. All right. I'm just going to check some of the comments here. Okay, one more question that I'm going to answer, and then I'll come back to you, Shan. Shan, you might find that question is best answered or asked within the Relatable live call, because I can just answer it in a very different way to what I can answer here. Okay, and I need to go into a longer explanation. So if you're a member of Relatable, the next live call is on Monday morning at 10 a.m. or Wednesday evening at 7:30 p.m. I would be asking that question there, where I can devote a bit more time and go to in a bit more depth and ask you a few more questions, and I can engage with you on that. So that's where I would take that question, honey. Okay. Okay. One more question. Hello, Fiona. I have a question. I don't know how to deal with the fact that the man I am dating doesn't want us to be friends on social media. He is friends with everyone else, and especially other women. He says he doesn't want everyone to know everything about him and his life, but he goes around and talks to everyone about everything in his life and his problems anyway. I'm curious, but at the same time wondering why it is so important for me to be friends on social media. I just can't let it go. Is it me that is insecure? I don't think it means that you're insecure, honey. It is an interesting thing if he doesn't want to be visible about that and let people know, hey, I'm with someone. And I guess it's just a matter of checking in, because he may very well he might well be a really private person and doesn't want people to know. And I guess for you, that's a matter of tuning in when you're having that conversation and really trusting in yourself. Does it resonate for you? Does that ring true for you? Do you feel that that's a genuine answer and a response? And give yourself to be reflective about that. Do I feel that that this isn't a response that is congruent from where he is? Okay. And definitely feeling a feeling of congruency is something that you tune into. You can feel that from someone. Remember, I talk about this a lot. You know, we are energetic beings first and foremost, and we are engaging with each other energetically before we are physically, even through talking, right? You are feeling where someone is. And so if you do get a feeling where something's off, you want to trust in that, because that those things don't happen in a vacuum. So again, you've got to get quiet with yourself, and I know you know what I mean by that, and get reflective and sit with it and go, okay, does this feel congruent to me? Do I feel like he's being honest with me, or do I feel that there's something there? And if there is something there, trust in that and speak to that. But as you know, you've got to speak to it from a neutral place. Whenever we have a conversation like that, we've got to make sure we're not loaded. Now, I know you know how to do that. So you want to make sure that you come from a place where you're not loaded, where you are home, and get curious and find out where he's at, and then see where the conversation takes you from there. All right. I hope that helps, honey. And thanks so much for asking the question. So I'm just going to check back in, because I now have gone on. Now I've now gone on, I answered a few questions, which is great. I love your questions. Throw them at me. I don't mind how many questions get thrown my way. I want to do whatever I can. The whole point of this is to be of service to you. Okay. Some of you relatable guys are on my Facebook lives, and I just want you to remember, the best place to get your questions answered is on the relatable live calls, because I can speak to you one-on-one. I can ask you questions, and I can go a bit deeper in my answers. Okay. So if you do have a question and you're in the relatable, remember, the next call's on Monday, and you've got 2 opportunities a week, and you can, and the other one after that is on Wednesday. All right. Okay. Anybody else have a question that they want to ask me today? Anything on your mind? Anyone want to ask me anything about anything at all? I am here to help. Hey, Daryl, nice to see you. I hope all is well. So nice of you to say hi. And thanks for your comment, Peggy. Yeah, these are some great questions. And can you see how helpful they are? And I can answer your questions anonymously if you wish, because I know for some people that's really important to them. So if you send me an email, that's the best place to get your questions answered anonymously. Or if you want to ask it here, if you're brave and you want to put it out there and go, hey, I've got this going on, what do you think? Go for it. Because, you know, that is what helps create momentum for everybody else. There are so many people who will be able to relate to what you are saying, and will take a lot out of the answer that I give to your question. So, you know, we're all connected here. We're all part of something bigger than us, and which is why anyone who asks a question, it has these beautiful ripple effects, because there are many people out there who will go, oh, that's my question. Oh, I do that. Oh, I was wondering about the same thing. Oh, that's something that happens in my life, right? So I hope that those answers were helpful to you guys. I have had a couple of people ask me some questions about just the structure of relatable and how it works. So I just want to take a moment, because I'd rather answer it here on this live where other people can get access to that answer. So I have 2 relationship programs, and it can be a little bit confusing. One is called Relationships That Thrive, and one is called Relatable. Relationships That Thrive is at a much lower price point, and there's a reason for that. The course content is different. There are no live calls. There's no Facebook community, and it's a much shorter, smaller program. Relatable is my signature program. It is where you will get all the details on everything that I teach. Okay. It is much more in depth. And like I said, you have the Q&A calls twice a week that you can answer. You have the beautiful relatable family that you can draw from. And I go through things in a more deeper, more practical, structured way. Okay. And so the understanding that I teach at the moment, I'm in the middle of creating all of these troubleshooting videos for each module, but the understanding that I teach is laid out step by step for you. And it is a drip fed program. So when you enroll, you get access to the welcome videos in module 1, and then 7 days the next module, and 7 days the next module after that. Okay. People tell me it's the greatest thing they've ever done. It is very, very different to anything out there. I am not giving you lots of information and overwhelming things. I'm pointing you in a direction where your mind slows down. You stop overthinking. You start operating from insight and fresh thinking. You actually have this capacity for calm and groundedness. You listen differently. You get to know yourself in a way where you have never known yourself before. You know where to look for the answer. You will end up being far more comfortable in your own skin than you can ever possibly imagine. And then from there, life becomes much, much, much easier to navigate. You're able to put things in the past, let things go, get over things quickly, reconnect with the people that you care about, and you have this understanding of how we work that just gets deeper and deeper and deeper over time. Okay, deeper and deeper and deeper over time. And I can assure you, what you learn here, you will never, ever, ever forget. It's because what I'm teaching you is an understanding of how things work, not a technique or a strategy. Techniques and strategies people forget because they're all about logic and they come from our analytical mind, and they're about learning and applying something. When you come from an understanding, the way you approach things just naturally changes, because once we understand something, our whole ability to deal with something changes, right? I use the weather as a really great analogy. Okay. When we understand the way the weather works, we work with the weather. People who don't have an understanding of the weather get frightened by the weather, right? And so they resist it. They freak out. I was actually saying this to someone today, sort of saying, a way of understanding what I'm talking about is if you were an alien landing on Earth, and in the country you came from, there was no change to the weather or the temperature. It was just a constant thing that was the same. And you land on planet Earth, and you land in a country where it's summer, like Australia. And you might be thinking, wow, this place is awesome. It's warm and I love this. And you've got all these, the days are long and oh, it's beautiful. But if you didn't understand the way the weather worked, right? As soon as autumn or fall, as you call it in the US and Canada, starts to hit, the days get shorter, it's darker, quicker, it's colder, it's windier. The trees on the leaves start losing their leaves. All of a sudden, if you didn't understand that this is a normal, natural thing, you wouldn't be blamed for believing that the planet was about to end. You would be completely freaked out by that, right? And then if you add in a thunderstorm or lightning, you'd be like, oh my God, this planet's about to blow up. It's because you've got no understanding of the weather. But if someone was to sit down and explain, this is how the weather works, you would be calm, wouldn't you? You'd be relaxed. You'd be like, oh, okay, it's autumn. It's fall. Oh, it's just a thunderstorm. Oh, the wind's changing direction. And all that mental load that you have about why is it doing this? How come I'm feeling this way? Why is the planet doing this? It was sunny yesterday and now it's not. I don't understand what's going on, which is what so many of us do, would not be there. Okay. And so you have this beautiful, calm, free mind. And in a beautiful, calm, free mind, we get access to insight. We get access to fresh thinking. We connect to something bigger than ourselves. We're present. We're calm. We feel amazing. This is what's on offer. Okay. And when you show up that way in your relationships go through the roof, right? So it's just an understanding of how we work that people need. You don't need lots of techniques. You don't need lots of strategies, because you got to keep remembering that stuff. That comes from willpower that has you in your logical brain. We don't do well when we're in our logical brain all the time. That's not where emotional intelligence is found. Okay. So you've got to know how to navigate your thinking. You've got to know how to navigate, right, yourself before you navigate anybody else, or before you navigate life. When you have that in place, you start showing up to the people in your life, to situations the way you've always wanted to. An example of that is me. I was this very angry woman, right? Very angry. I didn't want to show up to life that way, but I found myself, flying off the handle, very impatient, getting super stressed and angry when I was stressed, and then hating myself for that. And in this really toxic cycle with myself, where I'd say to myself, I'm not going to be like that today. I'm going to remember to breathe. That's a technique. Before I speak, I'm going to remember to count to 10. I'm going to remember. But of course, all of that would fly out the window in the heat of the moment. And then as my mind calmed down, I'd be like, oh, I can't believe I just did that. I could never seem to change things in the heat of the moment when I needed it. And I'd get super low on myself. As I learnt this understanding, it just stopped making sense for me to be angry, because I had this completely different understanding of how things work, how I work. And so when things stop making sense, change becomes super easy. You don't have to force yourself. You don't have to work on it. You don't have to go back in the past. You don't have to relive trauma. You don't have to analyze everything. It's completely unnecessary. People don't believe me, and then they do relatable, and then they go, oh my God, Fiona, it's so true. I don't have to do any of that stuff. And you don't. And this is where it becomes so, so, so freeing. Okay. So if you're someone who's overthinking, if you're stuck, if you keep having what I call relationship groundhog day, if you keep going in your head over and over the same old thing, everything that I teach you in Relatable will help you with that, okay? In ways you can't even begin to imagine. And then you add in the live calls where we have these incredible conversations, and the Facebook community and everything else. It's just this thing that has this beautiful ripple effect that goes everywhere. You know, I have people coming to me all the time, and they're now speaking to their parents who they haven't spoken to for 30 years, or siblings, or they're getting along with their colleagues in a way that they weren't. They're just showing up to life in ways that they didn't imagine. They're a lot calmer and clearer. You know, and if you're someone out there who's wanting to meet someone, you being comfortable in your own skin is very, very attractive to people, right? And a lot of people are out there trying to meet people and they're not comfortable in their own skin, and they wonder why people don't invite them for a second coffee, or it doesn't go anywhere, right? Because we show up riddled with all of this stuff in our energy that we're putting out there that we don't even realize we're doing. Okay, so if I'm using the word energy and that sounds woo-woo, it's really not. Relatable is very, very practical. And the understanding is very easy to adapt into your life, and it's very, very calming. You will immediately feel lighter. So if that's the kind of thing that you're looking for, that is what's on offer there. It's beautiful for your well-being and beautiful for your relationships. Okay, everybody. I hope that this live has been helpful to you. I do love doing these with you every Friday. I will be here next Friday. If you have a question, and we've answered some really great questions today, so if you're just tuning in now, wait for the replay to come out, because there's some awesome questions that were asked today. If you want to know more about Relatable, I will post the link here. And like I said, there are some people on the chat now who have done the program, so you're very welcome to ask them any questions. They'll give you very honest answers and feedback to it. Here's the link there. Otherwise, I will see you guys next Friday at 12:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. If you want to send me an email, you can send an email to hello@FionaLukeis.com.au, and I will answer your question for you. And if you want me to answer it anonymously, I can do that for you too. All right, I've just put the link to my email address down below. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for showing up, asking questions, and being part of today's live. See you all next Friday. Okay, take care now. Bye.